Hey, it's your old pal Slim, and this is 70mm, a podcast for film lovers just like you. Every Monday, I chat about recently watched movies with my close friend and artist, Danny Haas.
I've never seen a man move like this. The dance moves, the way Gene moves, it's sexual.
And my close friend and movie insider, Alexis.
Gotta dance.
Every month, we have a new theme that guides our featured discussion for that episode. And this time, it's our last movie from the VHS Village Top 100 Movies of All Time. It's Singin' in the Rain. And that's the pick from our close friend, Mackenzie.
The photo of La La Land where their little arms are extended, and I see that Ryan Gosling's hand is not energized. It's just like limp. I'm like, get out of here. You are no Gene Kelly.
Why don't they make movies like this anymore? Was streaming movies a mistake? Should we prosecute anyone who gives this movie a low rating? All this and more now. Singin' in the Rain. I don't know if I'm going to say singing or singin'.
Singing?
Singin'.
Read the posters.
How's it pronounced?
Singing in the Rain.
Singing?
We'll answer the question, how do you say Singin' in the Rain, the movie title, later in this show. Stay tuned. There's always some kind of debate now
Singing
that I want to settle. This month's theme, we're wrapping it up as well, which was the VHS Village Top 100, the greatest movies of all time as voted by our supporters. And we have the person on the show, right? Meow, who put that entire thing together, the brains, the curator, co-host of the Austin Danger Pod, and more importantly, our friend. Mackenzie, welcome back to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me back. Wow.
You're
First
welcome.
episode since Speed.
Speed, the iconic, it started as a bit and then it became an episode of Speed.
If there's one thing that we can guarantee, a bit will probably turn into a full-fledged episode.
I mean, in my case with Austin Danger Podcast, a bit became a full-fledged podcast that is now 50 plus episodes deep. So
That's true.
if I can do one thing, it's commit to the bit.
You want to talk about a bit? I think your next episode as of recording is Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers. So
Boy, oh boy.
you do the math.
What?
That wasn't a bit. You guys really did that?
It's coming soon.
I'm
Lord.
so excited for that episode. It's going to be out by the time people are hearing this episode. And yeah, it was very fun. It's like weirdly nice to have a movie that connects actually to Austin Powers. And, you know, Mike there's scenes where it literally just feels like Austin Powers in a fursuit. So it really just connects deeply.
So for those that are listening and have been waiting for a podcast that is tangentially related to the Austin Powers film franchise, your time is now to check out Austin Danger Pod and listen to Cat in the Hat.
My co-host Kev, I forget, he called us like the like teen movie parody of Dune Pod, I think, or something along those lines, which I think is accurate. And I do think that stoner comedy version of Dune Pod. Thank you, Kev.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I think Cat in the Hat's actually a good episode to jump in on because it'll be a very, very good one.
Horrifying. I had a horrifying experience watching that movie I'd rather not get into.
Oh, gosh.
So
Trauma.
usually when we have a guest on the show for the first time, we'll go through their 4 faves. So we had already done that in the past. So I just wanted to quick go through your 4 faves currently.
Did they change?
Bound is number 1. I don't think that's changed
Nah.
necessarily since we last spoke.
It's locked.
Casablanca, number 2. You had said that might have been your pick if Danny... Whose pick was that? Was that
I
Danny's
beat her
pick?
to it. Yes, it was my pick, Slim. It's 2 weeks ago.
That was my first pick. As soon as I got asked, I went, I know what I'm doing. And then I immediately was like, all right, drawing board. I return to you.
When Harry Met Sally, next.
That was
the 4
also
faves.
another movie I was considering for tonight. It was down to that and Singin', I would say.
Wow.
Absolute banger.
Danny, do you have like the sweaters from When Harry Met Sally? Do you have those like in your collection?
Full, the look that she has in the library with Carrie Fisher. I wear that often. The glasses, the red sweater, I tease my hair out like that. So I look great in it.
You already look great.
Oh, thank you.
And when you're not wearing it, it's on the mannequin in your room.
Correct. Yes. Sort of. Yes.
Fashion mannequin. And your final 4 of your faves is the movie we're covering this episode. This is the one, Singin' in the Rain.
I added it there in honor. You know, I feel like every time I watch it, I just think, man, I love this movie so much. So I popped it in there for today.
Good heavens.
You love it.
There's one cool thing I do want to mention too about the VHS Village Top 100. You know, it was voted on by our supporters. Aaron put together a new version based on a question that I had asked. You know, what would the list look like if we just go by villager ratings?
Oh, gosh.
Harakiri is the number 1 based on the average rating of the villagers. Look at that.
I respect that.
My God. Proto, any thoughts on that?
I feel that feels right to me.
Mhm.
When I think of greatest movies of all time, that's up there. Top 3.
I'm on record as saying I'd spend $150 for 4K of that movie.
$150.
Empire Strikes Back is number 2.
Are you kidding me?
That's real. 4.81
Whoa.
average.
Wait, what was that response for, Mackenzie?
I just
Is that how you always respond to
I don't
masterpieces?
remember which Star Wars that is. what
Mackenzie.
happens in that one?
What?
I don't
Luke
know
is
much
in
about
it.
the
Vader
Star
is in
Wars.
it. Yoda.
Is that the hand? Is it the second or the third one? Of
the one with the
first
hand.
Ones?
It's the 5th one.
Danny's about to
Murder.
karate kick the fashion mannequin in his room.
I guess I would. I mean, but that makes sense. As someone who was taking in the polls, I was like shocked to see it honestly going above the original Star Wars so much on a lot of
I
people's
agree with
lists.
you on that.
Mm,
Yes.
can't wait to discuss that in a future episode, whatever that is. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is number 3.
Mm.
That
Respect
feels
that.
right. That feels real right, Proto.
Yeah, we were all there.
Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring is next. We don't have to talk about that anymore. We already talked about that extensively. Singin' in the Rain is next. Singin' in the Rain is number 5.
Top 5.
So it rounds it out.
Hell yeah.
All right, so we'll circle back to. I'm curious to hear from you, Mackenzie, on what some of the best movies of the year, in your opinion, that you've seen so far. So we'll come back to that discussion. But let's go the opposite end of the spectrum. Maybe some of the worst movies ever made. Danny's Bond
you want to talk
journey.
about James Bond?
James Bond.
Understandable. I had my letterbox up. 1 second. Clicking over. The World Is Not Enough is a terrible movie. And I was really bummed coming off of GoldenEye and Tomorrow Never Dies. But there's nothing I can say about this. I gave it 2 stars. I don't know why. The car, maybe. Pierce looks amazing, but he always does. That's about it.
How many women does he kiss in this movie?
All of them.
Even
But that-
M?
They get close enough.
Dame Judi Dench? I don't remember that scene.
How can you not?
Deleted scene. My God.
It's rough. It's a rough Bond. And then because of how bad it was, I went ahead and watched Die Another Day to get out of this Pierce era.
Right.
And it's just as ridiculously bad. And you know what's funny is what was the movie? Is it Batman and Robin with Arnold?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I felt like it was. It was like the Batman and Robin version of James Bond.
Wow.
The ice palaces, and it just was it was too
I could see that.
And I felt sad. I felt gross afterwards. Like, this is how Pierce ended his run on James Bond. He started so strong. She couldn't stick the landing. So I'm happy to be out of it. I'm giving it a breather till I start the Craig journey, because I am starting with Casino, obviously, and it is my favorite of the Bonds. So I'm excited to begin the Craig journey.
Porter, do you have any thoughts on the Pierce Brosnan era of James Bond?
Not too many thoughts. It's been a minute, maybe 2 minutes since I've seen any of his movies. But yeah, there's been a little bit of conversation about where Bond is going next. Danny, do you have an opinion about where should Bond go now?
Well, there was the conversation because of Amazon owning MGM or some nonsense like that they could lean into a TV series of Bond, and I don't think that's the way to go. I mean, Bond is a cinematic event. We go to the cinemas for the grandiose of James Bond. It doesn't belong on TV. It belongs in the cinema. That's where I
Murder,
stand.
She Wrote.
Right.
This is James Bond we're talking about.
Right. This is James Bond. So I don't want to, I mean, I'm going to watch it if it's a TV show. Let's be real. I'll still watch it.
Of course.
But it belongs in cinema.
But didn't you have the idea of whose
Don't
idea
yell at
was?
me.
Maybe I'm sorry. I'll give it to you anyway.
Don't put
but
words in my mouth.
the idea of setting it in the 60s still, was that your idea?
Get it out of modern time. Get us out of modern James Bond. Put us back when things need to be rotary dialed to dial into anything. Give us buttons and things. No more touchscreens. No more automatic steering.
Let me just
Get us back in the 60s. A period piece. Go ahead, Proto.
What if they were going to do a TV series, but the person in charge was Ryan Johnson?
No. I need you to rein it in, please. Not
what if
happening.
I'm going to post a photo in chat?
Okay,
Dream
okay.
casting. It's not Timo Chalamet.
let's
Wait, who are
do
you
it.
Everyone
dream
just calm
casting?
down.
Bond? Your dream.
This is
you-
Bond dream casting. Right now, I just posted the photo.
I gotta click.
God.
Who is that?
Irish bad boy Paul Mescal from After Sun. He's the hottest actor
Yeah,
going
he's-
right now.
The number one boy right now in Hollywood.
Generic white guy.
Who?
Number one cinema boy.
He's
Paul
got the
Mescal.
jawline. I'll give you that.
Mhm. Imagine him in a suit, 60s era clothing.
You couldn't find him in a tux? He's probably done a red carpet, Slim. You couldn't share a tux
There's
image?
plenty of photos on here. I choose what I link to.
Looks like he just stepped out of his garage.
What about the breaking news? Just real quick before we move on from Amazon TV. The breaking news, Proto, HBO's making more Lord of the Ring movies. They're going to be going back into the universe. They
Yes.
got the rights from
Yes.
someone. I don't know how they do these things, but they're going back in.
The Broccoli's had the rights to this too.
Movie lovers rejoice. Our time is now. This announcement is huge. How could I not be excited? Where were you when Peter Jackson was given the trilogy to make? You know where everyone was? Doubting. They were afraid.
Danny was getting married.
But we don't have to be afraid anymore. Because a miracle happened before. It can happen again.
I agree.
Can a miracle strike 3 times? They did it with the original trilogy. They did it with the Hobbit trilogy,
Exactly.
which is arguably maybe the most beloved of the 2 trilogies.
Slim, you're just wanting
And then
emails at
when they
this
come
point.
back.
It's about engagement. It's content.
All right, we'll
This
move
is-
on. Enough of this hogwash. Proto, what did you watch this week that you want to talk about?
I watched Miami Vice. I went back to Michael Mann. This movie has been on my my list for a while. This is from this came out in 2006. Almost 20 years old. Believe that? Interesting fact about this movie, it's one of the first movies that's primarily shot on digital.
Interesting.
And you can really tell watching it. This I want to say this is like I haven't seen a movie like this. This has just like a really unique look. I mean, it's definitely like a Michael Mann movie, but there's just like this understated way of like telling this story that I wasn't expecting. I thought it was like really interesting. I didn't love it. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was good. It just didn't really like like wow me in any ways. I love Jamie Foxx in this. I think he is a great actor. Everything I've seen him in, like I've loved it.
Okay.
But it was interesting just reading a little bit about it. Like he was apparently like pretty tough on set. And I wonder if that's like why he hasn't been as many movies.
Jamie Foxx was
yeah, I
tough
feel
on
like-
set?
Fox?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This is
but I
hearsay.
guess it's 20
is this
years
breaking
ago.
news? Could we get sued over this?
This is hearsay.
We may get sued,
Allegedly.
but I'm ready to go to
Check.
court.
Is that?
I will defend my honor.
We can't afford a court appearance.
Don't worry about
We got
it. all
Age. Age could maybe put something in the pot, the legal pot in tape deck. Maybe he can help us out.
We got legal pot.
My main memory of Miami Vice is I bought it on HD DVD. It was one of my earliest HD DVD purchases, and I think I watched 2 seconds of it and I went to go return it. I did not. I liked Collateral. I didn't like. I love Collateral, and that I feel like was also shot digitally, or maybe not entirely digitally, or faux digital. I can't remember, but it definitely has a different look. And then when I saw Miami Vice, I was like, ugh, I don't know if I like it in this world. And I never went back to it.
Yeah, it has a really strange feel to it.
Can I say something while we're talking about Michael Mann?
Okay.
My the one movie I'm looking forward to the most this year is Michael Mann's Ferrari with Adam Driver. I'm very excited about this movie.
Yes.
I think it's going to be amazing.
Is this F1? This is F1.
No, it's
related?
Ferrari.
Oh. What is F? What's
F1
F1
doesn't stand for
Apparently.
Ferrari 1.
Is it Ferrari 1?
No.
Slim, I think
Formula.
those are different things.
We'll get the intern to confirm that. When does this come out? What's the plot of it? Does he play
2023. He
Mr.
plays
Ferrari?
Enzo Ferrari
Okay.
in the 50s.
Adam Driver drives a Ferrari.
Thank you.
This is a bit from On Cinema when Tim Heidecker thought that Adam Driver was the star of Fast and the Furious. It's crazy to see life imitate art in that way.
This is written in the stars.
So, Mackenzie, we're almost officially 3 months into the year.
Oh God.
You know, this is what the people have been, they want to get tips. They want to get movie recommendations from our guests, you know, to get an idea of what you like. So what jumps out at you this year that maybe is at the top of the list so far? Is there anything that's jumped so high up the list that you could recommend to anybody?
Like that's a 2023 release or that?
Or anything that you've watched for the first time this year?
Oh, because I have quite literally only seen one 2023 release, and it is 80 for Brady.
80 for Brady.
Which I wholeheartedly recommend to
Oh,
every
you gave
person on
five. You
Earth.
gave 5 stars to that, didn't you? 80
One
for Brady.
star for each time I cried during 80 for Brady. And I'm not even kidding. Literally, I was 15 minutes in, and if you know, you know, when we're getting the backstory of how the ladies met, I started crying, and I went, "This movie got me so hard." Yeah, so that is literally the only 2023 release I've seen. I'm seeing people post about Cocaine Bear. I am seeing that on Sunday, so I'll see 2 2023 releases.
Will that top 80 for Brady, Cocaine Bear?
I don't know. If the Cocaine Bear is as good as Lily Tomlin, maybe. But I don't know. About another movie I've seen that maybe isn't a new release that I really liked this year. Oh, jinkies. I watched Todd Haynes's I'm Not There recently. That feels like an underloved movie. I'll bring it up. Why not?
I'm not there.
It is Todd Haynes's, it's called a Bob Dylan biopic, but I don't even think it's really appropriate to call it a Bob Dylan biopic. And I want to say I really know nothing about Bob Dylan, nor do I listen to his music. I just was like, I like Todd Haynes. Why not? Because I love Carol. I love Safe. I like a lot of his films. And it was just this weird kaleidoscopic exploration of art and death through sort of the personas of Bob Dylan. And everyone is played by a different actor. There's a very iconic Cate Blanchett in full drag as Bob Dylan, basically. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's been my most like kind of weirded me out, but in the best way possible movie this year.
Bob Dylan, right?
Yeah,
Bob
looks
Dylan?
like this. Bob Dylan. But I think my favorite movie I've watched all year is After Sun, which is a pretty recent release.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mr. Paul Mescal. So yeah, watch After Sun if you have not seen The Light. And
Fantastic.
Oh.
movie.
yeah, those are some great
Fantastic.
movies I watched this year, and Eddie for Brady, I guess.
That's a great top 3. I'll agree with that top 3 for sure.
We love it.
Boy, we should say hello to some new patrons. Eric, Hosway, Dare, Weston, Dainzer, and MD all joined this week at patreon.com/70mm. Got access to the VHS Village Discord, discounts on Danny's beautiful prints. By the way, I have seen, well, everyone listening as it's released has seen it, but the art for this week,
Oh,
man alive.
thank you.
Maybe the best ever? Is it the best? Pardo, people
No.
are saying. Are you getting the DMs? People saying it could be the best?
I'm getting the DMs, and yeah, there's a lot of hype about this art. It could be number 1.
Oh,
It's pretty gorge.
It's
thank you.
It's something.
I got a sneak preview. That's
rarely
wow.
allowed. I think Danny also like posted it and then deleted it, one of his quick delete tricks.
Yes.
Listen, sometimes you just gotta be in the Discord.
That's right.
The
That's
right
why you got to
moment.
sign up for the
Lightning
Patreon.
strikes.
You get access to recent releases just for supporters. Columbo, Smallville pilot. I think we've settled on we have one more pilot to do, and then we might announce the next phase of the supporter episodes very soon. Very soon. We're also probably going to be announcing our next intern commentary episode very soon.
Yep.
Wowie zowie.
Yep.
There's a lot of things going on here.
Lot to
Lot
talk
of
about.
things. Maybe it's time to get to Singin' in the Rain. 1952. This is episode 159 of 70mm, by the way.
Oh gosh.
Oh, Oh, congrats, guys.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank
We made
you.
it to the
doing
milestone
it.
of 159
Yeah.
after all these years.
I was dreaming of that 159, baby.
Everyone always has it on the calendar. It's circled in the future. Proto, what is this movie, Singin' in the Rain?
Don Lockwood is a star of silent films, but when the talkies arrive, he's got to reinvent his career. Lucky for him, he is in love with Kathy, a brilliant singer, and best friends with maestro Cosmo Brown. Together, the trifecta dives headfirst into shooting a musical to save their movie from certain box office catastrophe. Gotta dance for Singin' in the Rain. Gotta dance.
It's good.
The grin on Proto's face when he delivered the last line of that synopsis. Incredible.
So happy with himself.
So this was Mackenzie's pick for this episode. When was the first time that you saw this movie? Did you hear about this movie growing up at all? Was it just in the background? How did it relate to you and movie watching?
I definitely did not see this as a kid. I think I had heard the name of it because it just feels so iconic culturally. Like you kind of just know what the song Singin' in the Rain is. And but I'd never seen it. I got into musicals in early high school after I saw Hairspray and fell in love with it. And definitely is the reason why I went to school for theater, because I got really into musical theater. But I was very anti-old musicals. I did one production of Oklahoma, and I was like, Rodgers and Hammerstein are dead to me. I never want to see a musical before 1992. I don't know. So I never sought it out because I just assumed it's an old musical. There's no way it's good. Which was definitely probably how a 15-year-old thinks.
Mm-hmm.
And my freshman year of college, I worked backstage on a production of Singin' in the Rain. I was Lena Lamont's quick change person. And I also had to vacuum up all the rain at intermission when
Excuse
it
me.
just splashed all over the stage. It was the worst job ever. We'd have to shop vac it, the full 15-minute
What?
intermission, and we'd be vacuuming up all the rain and then dumping it outside.
What?
It was
Isn't there
hell.
some kind of fancy new wave
Drainage.
way to show
Like a
rain in a
bucket or
play or some kind faux
Probably.
rain? Maybe it's lighting.
Projecting.
Yeah, it's projection rain
Hollow
or something.
rain.
Wouldn't that have been great for a college just to say, let's take the L and do a projection? No, instead they had to hook up a hose that was attached to a pipe above the stage, and rain would fall into the most shallow trough ever. And the Don Lockwood actor would just start tip-tapping his little feet in it, and it would go literally all over everywhere.
Oh my God.
So at that point in my life, I became aware of what Singin' in the Rain was, but I still never saw the movie. And then early last year, my fiance, Rachel, was like, why the hell have you not seen Singing in the Rain?
Mhm.
And we put it on, and it blew my mind. I could not believe how gorgeous it was, how fun it was, how it lived up and surpassed any expectation I might have had for it. And it kind of just immediately became a movie that I feel like I could just watch a million times and never get tired of. I actually recently watched it, so a couple months ago. So this is my third watch of Singin' in the Rain. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, it just gets better every time. It's such a beautiful movie to just look at, and yeah, I love Singin' in the Rain now.
Proto, you revealed, I think, last week that this was going to be your first viewing, right?
Yeah. I watched. My mom was into musicals of this era, and we would watch some of them, but mostly at Christmas. I guess the Christmas stuff, like Bing Crosby musicals. Yeah, and somehow I never saw this. I don't know. It seems strange now, but it just wasn't in the rotation. Maybe it's just because we didn't have the VHS, and that's the way it went.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No
first viewing
Laserdisc.
for me. No Laserdisc.
Danny, I think famously you added this to your top 4 last year on your
Yes.
first viewing, right?
On my first viewing last year, I put this directly into my top 4. But that's it. That's all I really knew about this film outside of Disney's Great Movie Ride, which we just talked about with Casablanca. There's a segment in the ride where I'm sure someone will correct me because they do. When you are looking at Casablanca, I believe the Sing in the Rain segment's on the other side of you, but they're close enough that there's the classic cinema section of. So that's all I knew of Singing in the Rain was him holding on to the light post, getting
Right.
all wet for the girl he loves.
Would that it's worth so simple.
Love when you get wet for the girl you love, you know? That's true love right there.
That wasn't me this time. I'm not the one saying the innuendo.
I almost felt like I had to sew my mouth shut and I went, let it out, Kenzo, let it out.
I remember, so I think the first time I watched this really as an adult was probably in prep for the Letterboxd show. So it was on someone's For Faves, so I sat and watched it. And then I think it was another pick for someone's For Faves, so I watched it again. And that's when
so many picks.
That's when I 5-banged it last year on Letterboxd. I gave it a hard 5.
Oh my!
And so we'll take it from there. But I do remember growing up and seeing this. You know, my dad was a big movie buff, so I think I saw this probably in the background, but also in like montages a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, like the greatest movies of all time. You see him dancing around. I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen this. I've heard this song like a million times, like Singin' in the Rain. Like you hear it so often, you see the scenes so many times, but really, I think probably for most of us, you don't really sit to watch it until later in life. So, Mackenzie, you're the guest. You'll start off our discussion. We'll try to, in this segment, we'll jot down 3 things for each host. We'll go round table to get through our list, and then we'll give our final rating. So, Mackenzie, what's the first thing that you want to talk about for Singin' in the Rain?
Oh, wow. I mean, I think the first thing that really hits me that is what blows my socks off every time I watch this is the production design and just the technicolor of the film. The colors are so vibrant, and maybe it's because so often mainstream films look like brown sludge nowadays. In certain, I mean, I love Rob Marshall, but every time I see a screenshot from The New Little Mermaid and you cannot perceive a single human being in the shot, it makes me sad. But yeah, like, gosh, I mean, I have a new-ish 4K TV and just popping this movie on, especially in the Broadway melody sequence where there's all those different colors. It's like mind-blowing that a movie can look so delectable visually. It's just, I just miss it. I wish movies looked like this, but also it makes this feel special because I can really only get it here in this kind of era of the great Technicolor usage.
I thought my budget TCL was going to explode during the finale of this movie. Maybe just like melt off the wall. And the last time I thought about this while we were watching an older movie was a supporter-only episode of West Side Story. Because I think, if I remember correctly, that was like one of our early 4K watches, like as a group. And that thing looks nuts. You know, the dance hall, remember the colors pop on those walls? I had memories of that experience. But so what about you, Proto? What do you think about the visuals?
Yeah, I mean, it really does. Like the way the colors are used in this, it looks like more of like an art form. Where, as Mackenzie was saying, like now it kind of almost feels like an afterthought with some stuff. Almost like there's no color theory with this, though. It's so alive. And this was kind of like probably going to be my first point, was just that it reminded me a lot. I actually watched it a second time. I watched it again today. It reminded me of a cartoon. So much, just by the colors, but also all the other elements of it as well. And then I was talking about it with my wife and my son, and he loves to dance. And I was like, oh, I watched this movie. You got to see the sequence. So I showed him the Gotta Dance sequence, the whole Broadway bit at the end, and it is amazing how, and that's the first thing he said. He was like, this looks like a cartoon just because of how the color is used. It's just so vibrant and like communicates so much through it that it's amazing.
Unreal. Unfreaking real. What is Marshall doing with that Little Mermaid trailer? Is this movie real?
The man that gave me Chicago is going to give me sludge. I'm disappointed.
Some of the screenshots that were popping up on my Twitter feed looked very sus.
Yes.
Danny, any things jump out at you at the visuals before we get to your number one?
I mean, not more than what was said. It really is kind of shocking how colorful this is. It reminded me of when we watched Red Shoes and the Technicolor and Red Shoes and the 4K of that. And this really had that same vibe where, like Proto said, there was thought into every scene. And what jumps out at me the most when I think of the color in this, not just the opening of the lights in the Broadway section, but when Debbie is wearing that purple that purple dress when he walks her into the giant bay and he kicks on the sunset, and just how it all kind of goes together. That dress matches the background, and he's turning the fan on, and then he kicks the lights on for the stars behind her, and it is just a gorgeous scene, and it feels intentional. It doesn't feel like, oh wow, we caught this on camera. It's like, oh, we're gonna think this through, how the colors are laying across the screen, the ground, how Debbie's looking, the background. I mean, it's artwork.
I mean, when those bay doors open to the
Oh my
lot,
God.
that was a crazy shot.
What a crazy shot.
That looked fake.
The
Like,
size, the scale of that shot, and they do that again with the Broadway scene when they pull back from him when he's, and it's just that big, long. It's like, how big are these
Never seen a door
bays
that
that
big.
they're in? It looks, the scale looks bonkers, and it doesn't feel fake. It feels real.
Right. Feels vast. Like the
These
size
aren't
of
matte
it.
paintings.
Oh. I love matte paintings. I love them so much.
I thought about you with the matte paintings when
The opening shot at the movie premiere? The very first shot?
No. When after he's trying to find Debbie's character again, what's her name? Kathy? I keep
Kathy.
blanking on her name. And he's walking through all the different movies being shot.
Yeah.
And then the train scene where it's the rotating backdrop. I'm like, oh, look at that matte painting. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a matte painting where they go to the Royal Rascal premiere, you know, when all the actors are coming up to the red carpet, and the first shot of the movie theater, oh my God, it looks so good. And my number one, what do I want to talk about? I mean, one of them was like essentially just reiterating what happened to these movies. I know what happened to them, but like, do you need that perfectionist director a la, James Cameron, to have movies that make you feel like you're getting the best of the best? Because
Tell him.
I did watch a making of, which was hosted by Debbie Reynolds, believe it or not. She did like a hosting. She looked fantastic. Oh my God, she's so radiant and like hosting a making of for this movie. And she talked about Gene, and everyone talked about Gene being that kind of perfectionist. And you can kind of read between the lines, which some of the stuff has come out like later about how he was kind of really hard on Debbie Reynolds. She said it was like the hardest thing between filming that movie and childbirth were equally difficult.
Oh my gosh.
But it's so funny to see this older documentary where she's like,
At the time, I wasn't a dancer at all. I was a gymnast. And I was very insecure and frightened that I wouldn't be able to keep up. But I kept right on practicing my steps. And the wonderful thing about Gene Kelly was that he made you feel you were capable of more than you had ever done. He would come in, watch my rehearsals, and say, work harder. And I wanted so much to prove to him that I could pull this off. So I worked harder.
but like when you read between the lines, like he's just like the biggest a-hole on set, like making her, try to get better and better. But it's just so cool. But I think some of that comes back to like you either have to be that kind of like visionary to even make this stuff happen. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. Like Spielberg, kind of tried to do it with West Side Story that had some amazing visuals. But like other directors, you're just not getting something that's going to knock your socks off. Like, I guess it's just, I don't guess, but I guess it is just so difficult to do.
At this scale as well, I think, which Jim Cameron is, I think, great at doing those large scale projects.
Mackenzie, what's next on your list that you wanted to discuss?
Can I go?
Oh, did you go? You didn't go yet?
Nobody
Lord
go.
have
Oh my
mercy.
God, I'm so sorry. I thought that was one of your points.
What
Did
point?
Danny, please go.
This
Go
is
again.
not the
Go
first
again,
time
Danny.
you've done this.
Do not
I don't-
silence him. Oh my gosh.
I wanted to talk about Gene Kelly. I said to Casey, I was like, if you told me that they CGI'd Gene Kelly's legs in this movie, I would believe you. I've never seen a man move like this with his legs, the tapping. Not only him, even Donald. There are moments where, Moses Supposes is an incredible moment in this film. Not just the song. When they get in sync together and are tapping and doing all the moves, I have to pick my jaw off the floor. I can't believe what I'm watching. I don't think I've ever seen I mean, I haven't seen anything else by Gene Kelly in this, and definitely not anything Donald has been in. But the dance moves, the way Gene moves, it's sexual.
Yes.
I can't. It's incredible to watch this man.
His ass cheeks alone in those slacks. Like, this is an R-rated movie if this comes out today, probably.
Oh, easily. And 4K?
Yeah. 4K ass.
Made of marble.
Chiseled.
God.
Yeah, the dance scenes are nuts. I remember being blown away by that scene. And most of these shots are long takes. Like, it's not quick cuts, super long takes. And I watched a second documentary.
Oh, talk to us.
The Apple TV edition had like extras, which was a more modern making of. It was kind of like a talking head. And you can kind of get an idea of when it was filmed because this had actors from Glee and High School Musical and the director of High School Musical. Like, this is the I guess at the time, the cutting edge of musical talent. And they were saying how at that time, you know, you filmed it just to show how good everyone is at this. And they took months to rehearse. Like, they would stop production to rehearse these dance numbers and get it in those long takes, which is still so bonkers to me. I would be exhausted doing that. He had a smile on his face the whole freaking time.
The whole time.
Made me sick.
And singing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's incredibly effortless in the way that he dances. He makes it look so easy. The moves that he does early when he's first explaining like his journey up and him and what's his, is it Donald?
Donald, yes. Donald's the actor.
Where they're like,
Cosmo.
yeah, like low at the ground and they're, I don't know what that's called, but they're kicking their legs out. Like, they make it look like it's not a big deal. I would like break my neck if I tried to do that.
I would blow both of my knees out.
It's just incredible how everything is like perfect, every single move of his. I don't think I've ever been like enthralled by a dancer in the way that I was by like watching him. I feel like I'd never seen anyone dance like him before.
Should we start dancing? Next
Dance
meetup,
class,
we'll
baby.
recreate Moses Supposes on stage.
Deal.
That would be amazing. No, Gene Kelly just always seems like he's just like floating on air when he dances in a way that is like, I cannot believe, especially in that Broadway melody, there was a part when like they all rush towards him and he's kind of leaning back and doing this like slow whatever. And I was like, he looks like he weighs the same as a feather. Like, how does he do that? And Moses Supposes might be my favorite in the whole movie because I love that you can see how talented they both are, that they're so in sync. But also, if you take the time to just focus on one of them, they have their own flares. They have their own personality in their dancing, which I love that they're in sync, but they're also so unique in the way that they dance. Like, it's just brilliant. They're just, I mean, I can't get over that talent. Kev and I talked about it a bit on ADP. I watched That's Entertainment on HBO Max, which was like a clip show of all these types of musicals. It was like MGM being like, hey, look how great our musicals were. And there was a thing at the beginning of one of them, because there's 3, I watched the first 2, where I think it was Frank Sinatra or somebody walking out and introducing Singing in the Rain and saying like, you will never see talent like this on a screen ever again. I would bet money. And it's true. I just feel like we don't see like triple threats and people of this level of talent and the ways that they were talented anymore. It's another reason I think why the movie feels unique. It's because like, when's the last time we've seen someone dance like that?
Not La La Land.
First person to say La La Land in
La La
chat
Land.
gets an insta-ban.
Not
I
La
will
La
ban
Land.
you.
The photo of La La Land where their little arms are extended, and I see that Ryan Gosling's hand is not energized. It's just like limp. I'm like, get out of here. You are no Gene Kelly.
He slept walks for that movie.
Yeah, that's such a great point because if this movie was made now, it would just be big name actors who would like, they would just be taught how to dance. Like, we don't have dancers who are actors. We just have actors who fill any role, regardless of if they have the skill to perform something like that. Because I can't, I mean, there's singers, entertainers who kind of make the transition to movies, but like something like this, yeah, it's true. You don't see it as
A
much.
small percentage of the acting crew.
I also think it was more reasonable for people to go from theater to film back in this time as well, which I feel like a lot of the people in this movie did is they were theater people and then they became film people and they had all that experience from theater.
Cripes. Next on your list, Mackenzie?
Well, we talked about Gene. I feel like the cast is just so great to talk about. So since we talk about Gene, maybe we talk about Donald and Debbie, especially. I think that Donald O'Connor just steals the show so much. He is so funny. He is just always walking in the room with Lil Stinker energy. And I respect a little stinker. He's walking in going, "Hey guys." He's just twirling his little mustache and being cute. And he's brilliant. I mean, Make 'Em Laugh is one of the most brilliant single performances. Like the fact that he's holding that number by himself. And I feel like I've read somewhere he was sick maybe when he did that. I feel like they were all sick doing half of these numbers. And then Debbie, I mean, she's just perfection. When All I Do Is Dream of You began happening, I felt like Dawn Lockwood in that moment of like, how can you watch her right there and not just fall in love with her immediately? Yeah, wow. It's just that the trio of the lead cast is just bonkers how talented and funny and attractive and wonderful they all are.
Don also has, I feel like, big cocaine energy too.
Excuse me.
He's imbibing before he walks. Yeah, this is alleged.
Please.
But you have that friend who just feels like they just imbibed before they got in the room. They're climbing the walls. He's literally climbing the walls. You can see some people doing the same thing. That's what I'm saying.
Gene Kelly came in and said, "You better get that energy up, baby."
I mean, they sold it probably over the counter. It was the 1950s.
It was in the soda. It was in the Coca-Cola.
Yeah, that's next to the potato chips, for God's sake.
Cosmo's delivery in his comedy is what I think I love most about him. Not just his dancing and stuff. He has the most subtle kind of jokes that can go overlooked. One of my favorites is when the tire gets flat and he goes,
"I can't understand it. This car hasn't given me a lick of trouble in nearly 6 hours."
Hey, there's Don Lockwood.
It's so subtle, but it's funny. When he finds out he's being the new head of music, or he was like losing his job, he says, "Well, I can now work on my symphony or something." And he's like, "Oh, you're going to be promoted." He's like, "Oh no, I can work on my symphony." It's just like so subtle. His comedic timing is perfect. Call me a cab. Okay, cab. It's really funny stuff. And I watched it for a second time. I almost finished it again today with my oldest daughter. And I wasn't sure how she'd like it. She's 15. I just hear her laughing at these bits too. And it's just crazy that it can still make that kind of impact on a different generation.
And someone in chat, let me see if I can find it. There was a question about, wasn't Don like in a hospital for 3 days after the Make 'Em Laugh bit? I did see something on the Wikipedia that like they filmed it over the course of 3 days and he was like bedridden. Yeah. After filming it or something. Like that's how tired he was. I don't know if that's true, but
segment.
It was pretty insane.
When
There's the Screen Actors Guild
moving his face around too. God.
He did speak about that in one of the documentaries. He was talking about how it was building to such a large crescendo that I thought I'd have to kill myself at the end to top everything that I was doing.
Oh my God.
Donnie.
I thought about, so yeah, he's very much the character of real life. I thought about something like, I grew up a wrestling fan and there was like this joke that people would say that Ric Flair could wrestle a 5-star match with a broomstick. Like he was so talented that there would be a broomstick in the ring and you'd believe everything you saw. And Donald O'Connor is like the equivalent of that. Like he literally has a dummy. He has a raincoat. Right, yeah. He has himself. And it's insane. Like you're glued to the entire moment and it's just so well done. I rewind the walking up the wall thing every time I watch this movie. Like I still am blown away that he's able to do that.
Twice.
Proto. Next on your list.
Next on my list was, just the kind of the same thing, just about the three of them and their chemistry. And also just like the script. The script is really funny. Just the way the story is constructed. I love the banter between Debbie Reynolds when her and Gene Kelly meet, where he falls into her car. Just the way they go back and forth. They're so playful with each other. The script is so smart, but they have just like amazing chemistry in those scenes. And then having the three of them together for the Good Morning bit is magic. Like the what you mentioned, them dancing with the raincoats, just like the creativity. That's the thing. Like there's so much like creativity in all of these, like these dances that just put a smile on your face as you watch it, just because it's surprising and just exciting to watch in that way. Where like who would have thought like dancing would be this compelling? At least to me. Like I'm not a big fan of like dance numbers and whatnot, but this like really captivated me in a way that a musical hasn't before.
Yeah. The one of the docs had, people who do this for a living even call out that like the amount of props that Gene would love to use in the dance numbers just multiplies the difficulty levels in all of these things, especially since they're using the long takes. Really, I mean, like I think I wrote this in one of my reviews, but maybe this is on someone else's top 3, but the dream sequence with Sid Charisse in that hangar with
my word.
What is that? That's gigantic scarf that she had.
Yeah.
Veil.
First of all, that thing is gorgeous. That scene is gorgeous.
It's stupid.
It's amazing. I want that framed. But the amount of work that it took for them to make sure that scarf was moving with the music and also just not in anyone's face, like during the entire dance number. They were talking about how like they had a series of women like working the fans to ensure that was like moving at the correct speed and like moving up the right way so that it could form. Like that entire scene just still boggles my mind. Like I don't understand how they did it or how they even came up with it. It's just nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah, it is nuts. It doesn't look physically possible how they controlled that veil. It looked like it had a mind of its own. And the fact that they did it with fans is just, it's hard to believe. It's that impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Gene's all black look in that scene. Oof.
My God.
Sid Charisse's legs.
Oh my
It's
God.
insane. That scene
7
is
feet long,
bonkers.
those legs.
Legs are as long as Gene.
Literally, he's a
Can you
short
imagine
king.
Danny
He's
next to
gotta-
Sid Charisse in this
He's got to
scene?
be a short king. I'm like 6'3", Slim, please.
You are not. You are not.
Gene Kelly has short energy, I would say.
They
I
did-
feel like he looks kind of short.
They did say that Gene knew how tall she was, and even with the heels on, he had to construct the dance in a way that didn't really accentuate the height difference. So that's why you see them kind of like bending a lot and moving and swaying with each other, because it really changes the kind of like height differential when they're together, which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's wearing lifts. Like he can't wear lifts, the moves he's doing. He's wearing flats, for God's sake. That'll be my third. So let's move to Danny.
That was your third?
My second. That was my second. Sorry.
Thought I got skipped again. I put this in my first review of this movie. I'm both times watching this now. I'm constantly shocked on how not serious it takes itself. When I first watched this movie, I was thinking 50s musical. The only thing I could think of, I don't know if it's 50s, but like Sound of Music is very serious. Not as much. Like I just thought that there was like a vein of this is going to be a serious, singing movie, but it is so funny. It pokes at Hollywood way more than I thought it would. And I want to be in the theater when this comes out and just to see how the crowd actually reacts to this film, because it shows silent films, but also it shows them watching silent films and and like even the silent film is funny. It's also poking at silent films. It's incredibly meta, this whole movie. And it's just brilliant. Protos talked about how the story was incredibly written. And it's just like, it's so true. I don't feel like you could pull another movie out of the 50s and been like, it's equally as creative as this, or funny. Like this is firing on all cylinders: comedic, musical, dance performances, visuals. I mean, no one misses a beat. The character actors alone, like Lena Lamont, she's so funny. Yeah. Like her voice in this is hilarious. The director is so funny when he's trying to mic her up and just screaming his head off. Like there's so much production value into this movie that I'm constantly, every time I watch it, I'm just shocked that this is how perfect this movie is.
Who in modern day is going to make this movie? Danny McBride? No one's making this movie today. It's over. It's never coming back. It's not possible. I did see in the documentary, drink whenever I mention the documentary. Sorry, everybody.
No, I like that you watched it. I meant to.
Yeah, cool.
That most of the music already existed in the time period that they're referencing. like Singing in the Rain, and most of the songs, and they showed clips from the movies. Like the first musical dance, all singing, all talking, all dancing, written by the people who wrote the music, Brown and Arthur Freed, was the Broadway melody. So they played a clip of that movie. I think it was like 1929. I mean, it looked boring as hell compared to what we got in this movie. It looked like a dry run from a high school. And they also played like the original Singin' in the Rain song, which was from the Hollywood Review of 1929. And Arthur Freed went on to, American in Paris, Gigi. I think he produced Wizard of Oz. The last thing I'll say about Arthur Freed is Shirley Temple Black wrote in her biography that like at age 12, they did like a casting session. And she says that Arthur Freed exposed himself to her in her casting session as like a 12-year-old.
What?
So just like, I don't know. I feel like I had to bring that up because I didn't want anyone to bring up that like we didn't mention this about Arthur Freed. But so just throwing it out there.
Good God. Got to warn
But
us next time.
it's insane that the meta levels of the movie like go back decades. Like it was meta even then. And it's even more meta now watching it in 2023, which is bonkers.
Yeah, they showed a lot of those clips in That's Entertainment as well. And I felt like such a doofus because I didn't realize that all these songs were already written and already popular. Yeah. And I watched the Broadway melody and it is so boring. And all they do is just sing that one song over and over again. And it doesn't get any better. So yeah, I wouldn't. It did win the Academy Award. So I was trying to be a completionist.
The Singin' in the Rain clips are also pretty bad. And they're like, this amazing number of the Singin' in the Rain from 1929. I'm like, I'm falling asleep watching. There's like 60 people on stage wearing raincoats singing this song in the rain. I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. Mackenzie, we're back to you for your number 3.
Gosh, I feel like we've said everything because so much of this movie is just like, it looks gorgeous. It sounds gorgeous. The acting's perfect. I feel like we've said truly everything. And I agree with everything that's been said. Yeah, these are the best versions of the songs for me. I mean, like they're all bangers. But I think that maybe the last thing I want to bring up is something that blows my mind every time I think about it. Speaking of the Academy, is that this was just like completely ignored by the Oscars, except for 2 nominations. That was like best scoring of a movie, which it lost somehow. This musical lost that. And Jean Hagen, who played Lena Lamont, was the one other nomination.
Really?
And I find that so interesting. I mean, shout out to her. She's fabulous. But I find it so wild that like, I feel like this movie is like so iconic. It has stood the test of time. There are people on podcasts in 2023 watching it for the very first time, and kids this week watching it for the first time. And it's just, I feel like it is probably more than any other movie that year stood the test of time. And so it's very wild that it was so ignored when I just feel like it is like the classic of all musical classics.
There were some theories that the year before, I think An American in Paris had done so well at the Oscars that they
was
were
that
like,
Jane too?
Yeah. That they were kind of giving the musical a break for a year, but I don't know how true that is.
A crime.
It is a crime, and we will work to prosecute those involved this year.
I'm moving.
With our legal team.
On
if they're still alive.
We'll prosecute their estates if we have to. We'll take them down.
I'll come after your grandchildren. I don't give a shit.
Proto, final point?
Yeah, we've covered so much. I just got to say that the whole Broadway sequence, Gotta Dance, is just, that's it for me. I love that whole sequence. I thought it was mesmerizing when Gene pulls out the ballet moves as he goes into the dance with the woman in the green dress. My God, it's just an incredible. I don't know. It's like 15 minutes long too. It's crazy.
Gene Kelly's like, all right, we're cresting into the final act. Real quick, let me just pause. I got something else to do for like 20 minutes. And it just like, I mean, what a risk that I feel like pays off, because it's like, who cares? It's fun. But like, why wouldn't you just keep telling the story we're already watching? Whatever. I think it's great, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it ends with a great joke too there, where he's like, explaining it to the producer, and at the end he's like, I really can't envision it.
I mean, that set, is that one of the greatest sets ever made? Like I think they said they used 2 lots. It was 2 football field sized lots to
oh my gosh.
to do that final sequence. And I mean, every shot is nuts. The pull away where they have all those signs hanging there.
Yeah.
What a lost art. Like that entire sequence is, really, looking back. My final point, I just real quick wanted to touch on, the talky aspect of it, how they have this party and the head of the studio shows them a reel of like the earliest footage of audio and video mixed together. And everyone's like, yeah, this is a fad. This is nothing. It's never going to take off. And
It's repulsive.
The gums on that man.
Oh my gosh.
That was that man's gums who's talking. They're so deep and dark. I was like, what is he okay?
The 4K didn't do him any justice.
1929. You know how expensive dental work was back then, Mackenzie?
I just was like, why can I see inside of
Invisalign is 100 years away
a
at this
trough
point.
is built between his teeth and his gums. It's very, the 4K
I apologize.
did
We're
not do
not
it.
prosecuting his estate. In fact,
No,
they
no,
might
no, no,
prosecute
he's okay.
us, specifically Mackenzie, for those comments.
Send them to me. Send them to me.
But yeah, I love just looking back to see how seismic shifting that was. And it's probably easy for me to do, but like, how were you that shocked? How did you not see this being the future of cinema in any way, shape, or form? And it's bonkers that they weren't able to really even do it at that point until like 1929, where the first feature film did it. So it's fun to see their reaction to that thing. And also it's fun to see them try to film a movie with sound. They did say in the documentary, Drink, where they had showed some stock footage of actors at MGM pre-sound, and they showed them at like a party. The camera's just like going down this long table, and they did say that like most of the actors were not capable of doing a movie with sound. They weren't capable of acting, speaking, or singing, which is bonkers to think about. That Lena's character was a large percentage of staff at MGM. Like if they had to be heard, their career was finished, which is crazy.
Even Don too. He had to ask for the lines to be changed because he just wanted to say, "I love you, I love you, I love you." He's not going to read lines. He had no idea how to perform lines. I thought that was really well portrayed.
Yeah.
I feel like that happened to a lot of actors of that time. I mean, pantomime is a little different than especially the kind of acting we're used to now. And it makes me think also of another movie I think that is subtly very great about this, is Sunset Boulevard, because there's also meta layers to that of like the main actress, and that was one of the actresses who didn't quite make it in that transition. And then she's playing an actress who didn't quite make it in that transition, and the madness and the self-hatred and all of that comes with that. And yeah, I feel like it's weird, but yeah, it feels like a lot of people just kind of, if you got left in the dust, you were in the dust, and everybody was moving on.
Right.
I wonder if there's an equivalent to modern time. Like, what would that be for us?
I was thinking that too. And the only thing I could think of was like 3D, but 3D wasn't the next phase.
AI.
I mean, maybe social media or like I feel like there's a idea of being online now that wasn't even a celebrity's thing like 20 years ago. And now there has to be this like level of like being online and present, and people know you in a different way. So maybe that's the biggest like shift in celebrity culture. I feel like that's happened.
Danny, final thought?
Third point. I mean, we've talked so much. Yeah, I don't know. Kathy, Debbie Reynolds is amazing. She's so adorable. My favorite bit, well, not my favorite bit of hers, but when she drops him off and he closes his coat in the door, and her laugh at him is incredible. What a laugh.
And he looks directly at the camera, bemused as he walks away too.
He breaks the fourth wall a lot, which I found very interesting in this too. Yeah, that's honestly about it. Really.
Let's get the rating and final thoughts.
Sure,
right
final
now from
thoughts.
Danny.
I can't fault anything in this movie. I mean, I watched it once and it goes instantly up into my top 4. I think this is easily one of the greatest movies of all time. And for a movie from the 50s to be able to just still blow my mind now, blow my daughter's mind. I don't know if it blew her mind, but she was laughing and enjoying it with me. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's easily a 5-star movie. I can't imagine giving it any less. I can't imagine anyone else giving it any less. So if you have, there's time to change it before I see your letterboxd.
I mean, the question is, should we prosecute these people?
Yeah, we'll have to think about that as well.
We're building a
Litigation.
line of the people that we're prosecuting.
Yeah.
Who will pro bono litigate for us
Mhm.
against people who rated it sub 5 stars? Will Proto be included in the litigation? We haven't heard his rating yet.
Stay tuned.
Oh my.
Mackenzie, final thoughts, honorable mentions, rating?
Oh, I mean, I just give Kathy that last shot of her with the tears in her eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Sends me to the moon. This is like the easiest 5-star ever. It's just such a perfect movie. I think it might be the beacon of movie musicals. Someone I believe in chat earlier said every other movie musical is chasing this movie. And I think some part of that may be true. It really is just, I don't know. It's it's the reason why I liked 80 for Brady. It's a movie that is there to make people smile. It's a movie that's there to bring joy and to bring light. And I think that a movie like this especially feels great when so much feels so dark. And so, this easiest 5-star ever. Great movie.
Yeah.
I picked it because I knew that it would be a really happy, love-filled evening. And thanks for doing this movie.
God, can we get that on a t-shirt, that entire speech?
Thanks for doing this
Printed.
movie.
From clavicle
Incredible.
to belly button. I need that whole thing.
The back can be an ad for Invisalign for that
80
one
for Brady
actor.
is as good as Singin' in the Rain. Both 5-star movies to old Wilkes over here. Old McKenzo.
Frodo. Oh, he's taking a drink. He's getting ready. He's got something cooked up here.
Final thoughts. You said this in your review, Slim, but when Don Lockwood is doing the stunt double stuff, and I wrote down, someone tell Tim Cruise Don Lockwood did it first at that jump. That looked just like that. Was
Dead
like
reckoning
the same
stunt.
Scene.
It was the same stunt.
It's crazy.
It was insane.
What are you gonna do? A line I loved at the beginning where they're watching the movie and the one girl says, "She's so refined. I think I could kill myself." So many amazing lines like that. After the Moses supposes, I was like, how many towels did they need just like to sop up the sweat that these guys must have been producing? They were going hard.
A lot of sopping.
A lot of sweat on the floor. Did everyone drink milk with dinner? Was anyone else disturbed by this? When they're having a meal together, they take their plates, they all got a glass of milk.
People used to have milk delivered to their homes. The milkman used to hand deliver it.
I guess you had like a day to drink it, so it was just like milk for every meal.
Right.
My fiance drinks milk with dinner, and dinners I think should not go with milk. It's like upsetting to me sometimes.
It's strange.
Yeah.
Like
Take it
salmon
as
and
a
rice, and
perception.
she's like, "Let me get some milk," and I'm like, "What?"
Excuse me. We're,
All right,
I love
cut all
Rachel
this
with all
out.
my heart. I promise.
the stream.
But good lord,
It's over.
I think the thing I love most about this movie is that it is, Mackenzie, you were saying this earlier, it's like happiness on display. It really, just the musical numbers, the way the story is told. I mean, the Singing in the Rain sequence, it's just like joy and happiness personified there on the stage. And I think you're right. I think this is kind of like the movie that all other musicals would be chasing with how good this is. So this is a 5-banger for me.
Oh, baby.
I mean, I also think this is probably like a movie that I should, rewatch every year.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels that good. Between this and Halloween 3, those are like my 2 movies I gotta watch. every
Double
year.
feature alone of those two. Oh my God. What about the next meetup? We showed 2 movies, Halloween 3 and then Singing in the Rain.
Yo.
2 different shirts.
oh jinkies.
Incredible. I have a lot of notes. One of the
Read 'em.
things that I wrote down from the documentary was Debbie Reynolds talking about how she started working for MGM at age 15. And she needed her parents' approval, obviously, but also because she said that they were Nazarene. I guess they belonged to the Church of Nazarene.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a conversation and they met people at MGM and they made the decision that MGM was also a hardworking family with nothing evil or depraved going on at MGM. So they allowed her to work at
Ooh.
MGM.
Goodness.
Okie
Okay.
dokie. Don't know if that was
Debbie.
all true, but all right.
So yeah, there's some interesting nuggets. I'd recommend people checking out these docs. They were very cool. We didn't talk about the dance number, which was like the fashion show the Beautiful,
Beautiful
Girl song,
Girl. Oh, I
Oh
love
my
that.
gosh.
which I originally like forgot about, and I was like, "What is this?" And then the outfits started coming through. They called out how the designer Walter Plunkett, when they were making the movie, they saw his work and they made a whole sequence just to display some of the designs that he put together for that fashion show, which I thought was fascinating.
when we were watching that today, Olive, she goes, I love every one of those looks.
They all look amazing. Is there
Yeah.
like, I know this was focused on the late 20s, but like something about this time frame, the 50s and 60s, where
Mhm.
it could work in any decade, in my opinion.
Mid-century.
Where is the movie set theme park attraction of this movie?
Disney was.
We need to make some calls.
They ruined it.
Need to make some calls. People's eye colors were popping off my TV. The girls with blue eyes, I couldn't even focus in 4K. The director of Monumental Pictures is wearing Rocketeer pants. Did you notice that?
Oh, I wrote down
His golf fit.
yeah, those flares when
I think you just call like pilot pants. I don't know what the hell they are.
when they do the
Jumpers.
they show the first silent film that they're in, and he has the sword fighting scene. It really reminded me of the Laughing Bandit segment of the Rocketeer
Yeah.
with Dalton.
Mm-hmm. The Royal Rascal swashbuckling scene, maybe the greatest swashbuckling scene in history.
Mhm.
The scene was so cool. The theater that they're seeing that movie in, I wrote, was streaming movies a mistake? That theater is gorgeous. The Him on the Trolley, the movie sets. I think we talked about this during the Fablemans, but like I want to be in that era. I want to
Yeah.
work in that era. I want to
Yes.
live on these sets.
Oh yeah.
So amazing.
Have you been to the Chinese theater?
I was there to see the Hollywood movie ride before it closed.
No. In LA.
Oh, you
In
mean
Hollywood.
the actual?
The actual.
No, I am going on a work trip to LA next week, and I'm hoping that we can do some cool things at Universal, but we'll see.
I mean, it's a sketchy area, but the inside, the renovation they did to that theater, it's gorgeous inside. It's an incredible theater.
Speaking classes. Oh yeah, when they first do their first talkie, I love that they just left all the bad audio in and still screened the movie. Like who's
Oh, that was
editing
so
the movie
funny.
together and saying, "Yeah, let's just show it to everybody." So bad. Is Singing in the Rain the most famous song of all time? That was just one of my notes. Ask the question.
It's a good question.
The Broadway melody set is maybe the best of all time. That pullback shot is nuts. Reminds me of West Side Story.
You know, speaking of West Side Story, I forgot to mention Rita Moreno. Very tiny role in this.
Oh yeah,
Did y'all notice her?
Where was she at?
She's
I saw her in the
Zelda.
credits. She's
So-
she's Zelda.
Yeah, so she arrives in the beginning with her older husband, and then she is like randomly watching Beautiful Girls and makes a little stinky face when they're like, she could be your little sister. And then she's at the end the one who brings Lena. So she's like the
Mhm.
tiniest role, but little Rita Moreno there, which is great.
Yeah, 80 for Brady.
80 for Brady. It all
Oh my
connects, you guys.
God.
We all need to
I got
realize everything
chills.
gets back to 80 for
Chills.
Brady, all right?
I'm chilled up. 5 stars. It's obviously a 5-star movie.
Easy.
It's amazing. 4K, if you can do it, watch it, have your life change
Mm-hmm.
irrevocably after watching Singing in the Rain. So glad to do on the show. Thank you, Mackenzie.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go anywhere. Don't leave yet. Don't leave the studio. We still
I
have.
was already
we still have-
unplugging. Oh, geez. Okay.
Gosh.
We
Yes,
still
I'll stay.
have a letter to get to. We have to have Proto reveal his pick for next week.
And the theme.
Our theme for next
Yeah,
week.
wow.
month.
It's big.
Huge.
You can drop us an audio memo or a letter at 70mmpod.com. We got links to everything. This comes from Brian. Subject line, new sub, just trying to support my guys.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you.
Hello, 70mm Brian. Saint Angle on Discord. Or is that Saint Angel misspelled? I'm not sure. Here to show my love and support. I enjoyed this pod enough to sub to the Patreon for the year and got a letterbox sub as well to support you guys. Was very happy to hear the Kill Bill pod live last week. Been listening since good time.
Oh my gosh.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Whoa.
Is that episode 3?
That was a long time ago.
I would love it if you guys took a shot at Minari, Parasite, Bottle Rocket, or Knives Out episode. My dream app, are you sitting down,
Oh no.
Oh.
would be A Last Samurai or Mission Impossible Fallout right before Dead Reckoning Part 1 comes out. Anyways, love you guys. That comes from Brian Sinangle in chat. What a letter. We haven't mentioned it, but we did drop Kill Bill Volume 2 to supporters right after Volume 1 last week. That was a lot of fun.
Big drop.
The Last Samurai. What if?
What a picture.
Can you imagine?
What if?
White
Is our
Savior month.
community ready for A Last Samurai?
I don't know.
I don't know if
Ugh,
it is.
I need to pick up my Tom journey again.
Disclaimer, I do a podcast. It's on break called Interview with the Podcast Vampire
Is
with
that what you call that?
my
On
best
break.
friends, Jonesy Loves Beer, who hosts Twin Vipers, and Dale_A, who hosts Bat and Spider. And we have a rule that I'm not allowed to cover any Tom movie unless we already cover it on Interview with the Podcast Vampire. But Last Samurai, that feels like a hot potato.
It's
you know?
a hot
It's a hot potato to cover.
not
with,
willing to catch it.
with our community at large. But we do have some plans for Dead Reckoning time frame. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Minari would be fun. Bottle Rocket, Parasite.
Number 1 on the VHS Village Top 100 of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Vote-wise.
All right, we got to talk about this theme next month.
It's big.
Pert, am I announcing it or am I? Or are you?
Is it me or is it
Do you want me to announce it? The theme?
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right.
Take the stage.
All right, let me.
I feel
let me hop
like I
up on
shouldn't
the
be
stage.
here. I'm like, this feels private. I know. Like I'm just like, ooh, I'm here for this.
Oh my god! All right, so this is going to be the third time we've done this theme, but there's going to be a twist. The first time we did it was in May of 2021. Then we did Volume 2 in April of 2022, and then now in March we're doing Leading Ladies Month Volume 3.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a twist. It's Leading 80s Month, so it's going to be
What,
only
80s?
80s movies.
80s ladies.
80s
Wow.
ladies. Hashtag
Ladies.
80s ladies. So we're only going to be doing movies from that decade. We're very excited. And I mean, how best to get excited with Leading Ladies than Proto's pick?
Thank you. Yeah, we were, I think we were talking to DMs like 70s month was so much fun. What if we do 80s month? And they were like, oh, but we need to do Leading Ladies too. And then Dale was like, what about Leading 80s?
Yeah.
And there it was.
It's just an L in front of
Producer.
80s for everyone who want to try to visualize the bit.
Ladies. It makes sense when you see it written down. Yeah, so my pick, this came to me quick. You know, I almost picked this movie in a previous Leading Ladies theme. It might have been the first one that we did. I picked Orlando the first year.
Oh my God.
But I think this was my runner-up.
Oh my gosh.
So we will be doing a movie from 1980, and there isn't just one leading lady. We've got 3.
Oh my gosh.
We're doing 9 to 5.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Excuse me.
Jane
also connects
Fonda.
to 80 for Brady.
No.
Oh my word.
No.
Yes.
Dolly.
Is this real?
An all
This is a
timer.
real movie.
Look at this cast. Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, Dolly Parton. Streaming on HBO Max. Getting even is a full-time job.
We're going to end men next week.
We answer the question.
Settle the debate.
Settle the debate. Do men suck?
What? Once and for all. Let me read the synopsis. Frank Hart is a pig. He takes advantage in the grossest manner of the women who work with him. When his 3 assistants manage to trap him in his own house, they assume control of his department and productivity leaps. But just how long can they keep Hart tied up?
Oh gosh.
Dabney Coleman, I presume, is the man himself.
Have any of you seen this movie?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
Whoa! I am
No.
delighted for all of you to experience this because it's going to go to weird places you're not expecting it to go.
Oh,
Backdrop
okay.
is amazing. in
Okay.
this movie.
It's a great movie. I've seen the musical version of it. I grew up watching this movie. My grandmother loved this movie because it's a, great girl power movie from that time.
Mhm.
So,
What a
wow, great
pick.
pick.
Streaming on HBO Max.
You all will fall
Huge.
in love with Dolly if you're not already.
I'm looking back at the first leading ladies. Let's see. if I
What
can
did we
find
do?
it. Orlando, A Woman Under
What a
the
pick.
Influence,
Oh.
House,
Oh.
and
Whoa.
Contact.
Oh.
And I think there was a vote involved where we did Aliens, right? Didn't
Oh, yeah.
Sigourney win the
Sigourney
Village vote?
beat Kate, I think.
Right. And then let me find volume 2, if I may.
Please.
Tabulating. Danny kicked it off with the piano.
Oh.
Mm-hmm,
My.
mhm.
Annihilation.
Nutty.
Oh, that was
bless.
that month.
God bless. Moonstruck.
All-time
And then
fave.
we wrapped with Dirty Dancing with Bex.
Yo, that was a
I guess.
banger month.
That's a great
Both
month.
leading ladies months have
Yeah.
been bangers. Holy
I
cow.
thought Thelma and Louise was in Leading Ladies. Is that wrong?
When
Maybe.
did we do
I don't know.
Thelma?
I thought that was Leading
Um,
Ladies, but
that
I'm
was-
not sure.
Wasn't that before
Great
like
art
we did?
for that. I
Control
need to buy
James
that.
Cameron.
F. That was episode 110. Oh, you know what? We did a weird thing where we started it because then the Godfather 50th anniversary was the week after. So we did
Oh,
Thelma and Louise and then we slotted the
that was our
Godfather
joint
in.
pick.
Yeah, you were right. You're right.
How
That
do
was
I know
right
this
after the
show
bat-
better? I don't.
We did
I don't
Thelma and
even
Louise
work
after
here.
I
the
think it's
Batman.
probably safe to say most people know the show better than either three of us.
I don't even work here.
The Road to the Batman was right before Thelma and Louise.
Oh my
my
gosh.
I'm gonna
gosh.
Visualize it. What a time.
Believe it.
All right. Well, Mackenzie, thank you so much for coming on. If you want to direct people to find more of what they heard, is Austin Danger Pod the best place to find it?
Yeah, Austin Danger Pod. We're on all of our socials with that. It's a very silly podcast. It's just kind of random movies that fit into the oeuvre of 90s, early 2000s studio comedies. And we have a really good time over there. And yeah, we're going to have some more guests on soon. We have a lot of really great plans for this year. So yeah, find us over there. And I may have another project coming up that I cannot
Oh,
share
gosh,
anything about.
busy.
But there might be another place you can hear me talking about movies very soon.
Empire Strikes Back podcast.
Yes. How did you know?
Empire
I
Strikes
was
Back
playing
every
a
week
little
for a
dumb
year.
Earlier.
So if you enjoyed our chat today, be sure to check that podcast out. But Proto, any closing thoughts this week?
I was looking around on the Wikipedia, just trying to read a little bit about Singing in the Rain, and I was on Gene Kelly's wiki, and
Gosh.
what a fascinating character. I got to watch more of this guy's movies, but I was really impressed by his like work ethic and just what he was able to accomplish. Like we said earlier, like his dancing was amazing, but there was this quote about him when he was practicing for a production, and the person said, Van Johnson said, I watched him rehearsing and it seemed to me that there was no possible room for improvement, yet he wasn't satisfied. It was midnight and we had been rehearsing since 8 a.m. I was making my way sleepily down the long flight of stairs when I heard staccato steps coming from the stage. I could see just a single lamp burning. Under it, a figure was dancing. It was Gene. I
Goodness.
thought, man, that's like an amazing story of like a guy who like went for it hard, and paid off.
It's how I think about Proto prepping for this podcast.
Mhm,
That lone
same.
light, and I see Proto's shadow
Mm-hmm.
doing the work, prepping.
The things we have
Put it
planned.
in a little soft shoe under a lamp.
Vegan soft shoe. We'll see everybody next week for 9 to 5. $70mm is a tape deck production featuring original artwork provided by Danny Haas. Spiritual guidance and V'ger, the robot who loves movies, provided by Pertalexis. Producer at large, Dale_A. Transcripts provided by Sophie Shin and music composed by Cinematric. Prints and other merch are available on 70mmpod.com. This episode was mixed, edited, and produced by me, Slim. Support our Patreon for access to our VHS Village Discord to talk movies with new friends, access to our exclusive episodes in the 70mm vault, discounts on merch, uncut episodes, and a physical membership card mailed to you. To check out other Tape Deck podcasts, find the link in the episode notes. And if you'd like to support our friends at Letterboxd and upgrade to pro or patron status, you can do so with a 20% off discount using the links on 70mmpod.com. Goodbye.
This is a Tape Deck podcast.